See right here. Oh, you notice it changed? Yeah. Sometimes I'm swamped. I'm sorry. I know that there's some stuff I need to do. But
Good afternoon and welcome to the Grand Rapids Community College Board of Trustees meeting Monday, October 17, 2022. I'm wondering if any trustees or you, President Olivares, have any guests in the audience that you would like to introduce? No one? First order of business then is the approval of the agenda. Trustees, this is the time if you wish to pull something out of our consent agenda for increased consideration, now's the time to do that. Any suggested changes to today's agenda? Hearing none, a motion please to approve the agenda as presented.
so moved.
There has been support for that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Now we do open this meeting up for public comment. If there's anyone in the audience who would like to address the board on any matter that's on today's agenda, now is the time to do that. We will have one other opportunity for public comment at the end of the meeting. If you wish to do that, just come to the podium, introduce yourself. Seeing no one, we'll move on with our agenda. Special order of business, we have an audit that we need to accept this afternoon. We do have representation from our auditing firm, Plant Moran, in the audience. Lisa, I don't know if you want to introduce them or if they just come to the podium, whatever you feel most comfortable with.
I absolutely can. Thank you, and good afternoon. As you mentioned, we have Vicki Vandenberg and Jeff Buller from Plant Moran. Vicki is our partner, and Jeff is our manager on our job. They've been with us for a very long time. We certainly appreciate their work and their expertise, and they have a PowerPoint ready to share with you to kind of give you a highlight overview of the audit process and the results, and then we'll be happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Is this the same PowerPoint that we received, by the way? Is that the same one? Okay, good. So we've had a chance to look at it already.
I believe you have, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And again, that's our way of condensing down 70-some pages of documentation into very few minute points. But before I get started, I want to first thank Lisa and Todd and Nate and the rest of the team, and as well as anybody from the college who works with us. Being auditors, you know, we are intrusive, and but again, that's our job. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and kind of touch on these slides, talk about the key highlights. So at a high level, what we want to present to you today is within that audited financial statement draft that's in your packet, it is a clean, unmodified opinion that is the highest level of assurance that we can give you. We've got a couple key financial highlights on the following pages, and then we're going to talk about another letter that's also included in the financial statement packet. And then I'm going to have my cohort here, Jeff Poehler, who's worked on the audit for 8 years. Does that sound about right? We'll go over the required communications as well as an update on the single audit or the federal programs audit. So I'm going to talk, again, these are just a few really high-level graphs that talk about a couple things. This is the one time a year where we really take the financial statements and break the funds apart and collapse it all into what we call a true, balance sheet, for lack of a better word. The assets and deferred outflows are kind of the what we call the debit side of the house. So when I look at this, they're almost identical from one year to the next. So $332.4 million compared to $330.4 million. So $2 million difference. But the important thing I want to point out in a couple different ways is really that percentage that's capital assets. So the last couple of years you've done a significant amount of capital outlay. So that represents about 57% of your assets. You can see solid though on the cash and cash equivalents and the long-term investments, which is really good. Hopefully we don't ever have another pandemic to go through, but that will hold you well into the future. When I flip over to the, whoa, what happened there? Sorry.
That's great.
Go right back. Okay, here we go. It's very sensitive. There we are. Maybe. You want to just go to the next slide?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. There we are. On the liability side, these are amounts that you owe others. couple really big swings in here that I really want to point out to you. The items that you really have control over is that really small piece that's accounts payable, accrued compensation, unearned revenue, and long-term obligations. All the rest of those items relate to really that MIPSers, your share, allocated share of the pension and post-employment health plan. So the pension liability is 46% of your obligation, your net OPEB is 3%, and the deferred inflows, which is a timing issue, is 32%. A couple big things I want to point out this year. The MIPSers plan, when it flowed through your numbers this year, made it look like it did really well, because if you remember, last year the market did really, really well, and that impacted the plan reporting this year to you. So your liabilities went way down. Luckily, you don't recognize all of those into your income statement. That's what, some of it goes into that deferred inflow. But, I mean, when I said they went down a lot, the OPEB plan went down 20 million on your allocated share. The pension went down 58 million. But on the other side, that deferred inflow went up about 47 million. So the difference did flow through your income statement, but I warn everybody to be cautious, because next year, we know what the market's done this year. So it's gone down. So next year it would probably go the other way, unfortunately. But that really impacts your bottom line, and you'll see that, or your the difference between your revenues and expenses. You'll see that on the next slide. It's not working for me, so. Okay, all right, let's do that. So the revenues and expenses and changes in net position. So this is the difference between your revenues and expenses. You can see the operating revenues. These are the ones that we call exchange transactions. So this is your tuition and fees. Student registers for classes, you provide them instruction, that's the exchange piece of that. Your books, you know, any of your services to students, that's all makes up that 54.3 compared to 52.6 million. Your operating expenses are your main operating expenses. You can see last year they were 155.7 million. This year they're 126.9. That's that big pension adjustment. So that's $15 million that brought your expenses down. But it's a little bit distorting. And then when you go to the non-operating revenues, this is where your state appropriation is. This is where your property tax revenue is, your Pell Grant revenue, which is a pass-through, and this is where your federal stimulus grants come through. So that's down. And then capital contributions, nope, they're in there too. So those will fluctuate around. You remember the HERF, the federal stimulus grants, took you from June 30, 19 to June 30, 22. So June 30, 23 should be actually just relying on your regular dollars. Those HERF grants are now exhausted. So you use them to help subsidize for 20, 21, and 22. So that, anyhow, there's 121.3. This year it's 104.3. And then a little bit of capital appropriation still, 7.1 million. This year, and last year was 18.9, so that was the capital projects that the state funded. So your bottom line, and Lisa always cautions me not to say bottom line, the difference between your revenues and expenses was 38.7 million compared to 37.1. However, 15 million was a pension adjustment, 15 million was HERF, that's not repeating, and 7.1 was a capital appropriation. Outside of that, you had a pretty darn close to slight increase, about $2 million from between your revenue expenses when you pull out all those one-time deals. So with an organization of this size, you managed the third year of the pandemic pretty darn well. So that's just something I really want to point out from that standpoint. Then we flip over to the general fund, and this is where you really, this is your core operations. So again, we talk about what funds the general fund. Tuition and fees, state appropriations, property taxes, small bit of others. So your total revenue is about 117.1. Your operating expenses and transfers were 114.2, so your net increase in fund balance about 2.9. Most of that, again, is attributable to those HERF dollars that you were able to claim as lost revenue and set aside for future. So those just, you funded what you didn't realize in prior years because of the pandemic. Any questions on the numbers? Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Jeff to talk about the required communications, and then we can see if we have more questions.
Great, thank you. We're pleased to report the scope of the audit and the timing of the audit were as planned and shared with you via letter at the beginning of the audit. So that's always a good sign. Vicki already thanked him, but again, thanking Lisa, Todd, and Nat for their complete cooperation and their whole team's cooperation. Everybody is wonderful to work with and cooperates well in the audit, so we very much appreciate that. In the letter of comments, you'll see that there are no issues noted. If we did have any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses to share with you, that's where we would share them. We do not have any, there were no findings to share, so that there will be no issues in there. There are a few pages in that letter of industry updates and best practice recommendations. We're not going to go through all those pages together today, but those are available for the board and for management to read through. And you're more than welcome to reach out to us, and we'd be happy to talk through any that you would have questions on or like more information about. Looking into the future a little bit, seems like there's always something that GASB is coming up with that's new. The next significant ones coming up are GASB 96 and GASB 101. So the GASB 96 is related to IT subscriptions. Those will now be on the balance sheet, so instead of so similar to the new lease standard, where the present value of your future payments are now an asset and a liability, the same thing will happen with your IT subscriptions. So that's really just a gross up of your we'll call it the balance sheet. And that'll be next year, fiscal year 23. I guess that's current year. And then GASB 101, that's a couple of years out still. That will change some of the requirements for how compensated absences are recorded and what's disclosed. Again, we have a few years before that one's applicable. Just wanted to let you know that that one's in the pipeline as well. The next slide. Thank you. We also completed the single audit, which is the audit of federal programs. This year, your expenditures were $42.9 million. We only had to audit one federal program this year. We determined that based on the size of the programs and a number of factors, including when they were most recently audited. So often you see that we audit student financial aid. That one didn't need it this year. So just the Higher Education Emergency Relief Fund, which had about $15.2 million of expenditures. Similar to the financial statement audit, we have no findings to report as part of the federal audit. So another clean opinion and just a clean audit again this year. With that, that's the end of our prepared comments. Does anyone have any questions that we can?
Kenyatta.
With the GASB 101, compensated absences, is that something we're already doing and the GASB rules are catching up to our common practice, or is that going to be totally new for us?
We are already reporting them in part. What this will do is increase what we need to report, because we are reporting those that are guaranteed, if you will, to be paid out when an employee retires. So what we'll have to do is do a calculation to capture the portion that may be paid out if an employee retires. So it will expand the liability that we need to report.
And on the 96, talked about subscription-based IT. I mean, how many different agreements will be impacted for us?
We haven't done that full analysis yet, so I do not know. Unless Todd's got more information on that. There will be several we'll have to work through against the GASB rules to determine whether they're going to flow through our income statement or whether we're going to book them on the balance sheet.
I mean, so these are your ERPs and all the different systems that we have that all of a sudden will have to be impacted. Okay, yep.
The largest one tends to be the ERP system, because those tend to be anywhere from 3 to 5 year commitments. Don't know, yeah, we haven't, here's that process.
I'm assuming the HRS as well. All right, got it. Thank you.
Other questions or comments on the audit? Then I'll accept a motion to accept the 21-22 annual audit as presented.
So moved.
Is there support for that? There's support. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Just want to thank the team from Plant Moran. Our hands sweat a little bit when we get that first initial inquiry that you're back on campus again. And the reason our hands sweat is because the baseline is pretty high. Lisa, this is year after year after year after year, clean audit. We don't take that lightly, and we thank you and your team very, very much. We've got a lot of trust and a lot of confidence, and it feels good to have you guys come and say the words clean. So thank you very much. Thanks. Lisa, I'm going to ask you to come up. We have a couple of Michigan new job training agreements that we need to approve, one from Patnos and one from Request Food Incorporated. Just briefly go through those with us and we'll take action on it.
Yes, and thank you again. You are correct. We have two Michigan New Jobs training programs that we are bringing to you for your consideration this evening. The PADNOS agreement is for 272 new positions. They have a total of 595 currently employed. If you remember the way Michigan New Jobs training programs work, they're only eligible if they are new positions that are, so the company is growing. They have already agreed that all of them will be the all will be paid at the 175% of minimum wage, which is required as part of the Michigan New Jobs training program. The PADNOS agreement is $250,000. Training will focus on safety, equipment-specific training, skilled trades, technical courses, certification, among other things. You want to do them both? Or?
Let's do them one at a time. So questions on the Patnos agreement from any trustee? Hearing none, a motion then to approve the agreement as presented.
So moved.
Thank you. Support for that? Support. There is support. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Let's move on to the Request Food Incorporated project.
All right, Request Food is actually a Holland-based company. They are currently at 904 full-time positions within Michigan and are adding approximately 139 new positions. Again, are looking at 1727 or above, which is the rate required by current state law. The same $250,000 is what we have available to offer to Request Foods, similar to PADNOS. Their training will be around leadership, equipment-specific training, technical courses, specifically around automation and controls engineering, among other things. Be happy to answer any questions on that or either one.
Anyone? A motion then to accept the agreement as presented? So moved, thank you. Support?
Support.
Support, thank you. Any more conversation? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion also carries. It's just, Lisa, you may as well stay up there. If you have a financial update, now would be a great time to give us that.
Okay.
And if you don't, that's, yeah.
Nothing specific. The September statements are in your packet. I would be happy to answer any questions that you have on them. Certainly, you've heard a wealth of financial information already, so we won't go through any specific numbers. Just a brief reminder, as you know, overall, as we move through, Todd and Nat and I are working continuously, but very specifically now on looking at a mid-year budget adjustment as we bring to you every year. We'll bring that to you in February. And then looking towards budgeting for next year as well, mapping out projections with a variety of inputs. Remember, the first thing that will come to you for that, as part of that process, will be the tuition recommendation, which will come in March. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions on statements or anything else.
Thank you. No questions? Thank you very much. Move on to updates. We don't have a student report at this time, nor a foundation update at this time. I do want to remind the college community that we have 3 finalists for our next president. We're going to be on campus starting tomorrow, and then Wednesday, and then the following Monday. So from 30 candidates down to 3. Our selection committee, an incredibly diverse group of 28 college community leaders and community leaders, undertook a very intense selection process that went from 30 down to 7 semifinalists were brought in for 90-minute interviews. Once interviews were completed, a robust and engaging discussion of how many do we present to the board resulted in agreement that 3 finalists would be presented for final interviews. And then after reflecting on lengthy interviews and multiple deep dives into experiences, these 3 candidates separated themselves from the other 7. With thoughtful comment and after thoughtful comment, we heard our selection committee colleagues encouraging us not to waver from our selection process and present who we felt were our strongest candidates for final interviews, and those final interviews will begin tomorrow. You're invited to participate in any or all of those. They're at the ATC Center. It's a full day. It's a heavy day of interviews. We invite you to be part of that. You have opportunity to make comment. There'll be surveys that you'll be invited to fill out if you choose to do that. And this board is expecting to make a decision at its November meeting, which I believe is November 21st, I believe, 21st of November. So with that, that's my report. I'm going to ask you, President Olivares, if you have anything that you would like to report at this time.
I do. I have a few items that I'd like to present to the board. First of all, I want the board to know that we've been selected by the Michigan Department of Education for a civil rights compliance review, which will start next week, October the 26th. This is a standard review, and schools are selected at random, so there's nothing that has prompted this review from the department. It's just our turn. The purpose of the review is to ascertain the compliance of our status as a college around all of the compliance regulations that we have to abide by. Lisa and her staff have been working quite a bit compiling information and submitting it to the department before they come for their site visit on the 26th. So I truly appreciate all the work. It was a lot. I mean, they had to scour through a lot of documents, and this is going back a ways. So thank you for that, staff.
How many days do they plan to be on campus for the review, do you know?
3. I got the 3. 3 days, and there will be... Right, and there will be interviews, and, you know, I will be meeting with them as well as staff, and they will be looking at documents, they'll be looking at facilities, they will be quite intense during that time.
But there's no plan to engage the board, as far as you know?
I don't believe that there's any scheduled appointment with the board, no.
Thank you.
But you will certainly be privy, obviously, to the report afterwards. I'll make sure I report that back to you. Another item is that I attended the MCCA board meeting, which was at the end of September, up in Kirtland Community College in Grayling. That was nice. They have a brand new campus, which I had never seen. I had seen the old campus, but not the new one, so that was very nice. We got a lot of legislative updates at the meeting, including the capital outlay bill, which we are still in for our Learning Resource Center. We are still in that, and that's good news. We heard about the ADN to BSN nursing program in partnership with universities, four-year schools, in terms of what that might mean for each of us, and they also, MCCA wanted to know how much we were pursuing that. We heard about the state budget in terms of where it was at, and we also heard about the catch-up grants that are known as the Summer Bridge programs. And I just want the board to know that they are modeling the state program around GRCC's model, which I think you should be very proud of. The staff have worked a lot on that, and it was great to hear that they're using our model to present to other schools. And then we also reviewed the new task force that was formed for the funding formula. This was like deja vu. I remember having these conversations 20 years ago while I was president then. But it's back around, and they will be reviewing that. There is a task force. There are 3 presidents that are engaging with the rest of us, but they will take that forward. Lisa and I have an appointment with one of those presidents coming up. I believe the appointment was made today, and so we will be reviewing what they want to propose, and we'll give them our feedback on that. This is intended, this funding formula conversation is intended to come up with a way to make the allocation of funding to community colleges more equitable. We tend to have lost in that, and we want to make sure we gain ground, and so that's our interest. Another item, last week we hosted a college night here on our campus, which was great. We served about 1,600 students from high schools from around the area, and about 65 colleges and universities participated. So it was a great night for parents to see a lot of schools, and it not just served the high school students, but it also served our students who want to transfer to a four-year school. So it was very well done, and congrats to the staff for hosting that here. And my last item is, which just happened recently, the governor signed SB 842, which is the Michigan Achievement Scholarship. And that's really a good thing for us. This is historic. It's a monumental investment for financial aid. And this will make community colleges close to free tuition. And what this is starting with the class of 2023, those high school graduates will be eligible, and I want to underscore that, eligible for a $2,750 per year scholarship. Students must fill out a FAFSA, so they have to qualify and be eligible, because this $2,750 is split up into two parts. The first $1,700 is first dollar in, and then the rest is if they should need anything more, up to $2,750. So what we estimate at the state level is that this could help 94% of traditional age students who attend our colleges statewide. So this is great for us, and it's going to really help this next class coming through. So it's going to help us a lot. I know that our financial aid office and Lisa are working on what it's going to mean and how to start advertising this. So
I have a quick follow-up question. When we say traditional age, are we saying 18 to 22? Is
right
that
out of high school.
okay,
Yes.
right out of? Okay. Thank you.
Other questions? Not, thanks for that report. We have no communication to the board at this time, so we're going to move on approving the consent items. A motion, please, to approve the consent items as they were presented in our packet.
So moved.
Thank you. Support for that?
Support.
There is support. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Purchases over $100,000 and special purchases, there were a couple of $100,000+ purchases that were indicated in our packet. May I have a motion to approve those purchases? Thank you. Support for that?
Support.
There's support. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We do have a capital outlay report. I'm going to invite you, Lisa, and I think Vicki is going to join you for that, to the podium to present.
Good afternoon. Happy greetings. So each October, we bring you the capital outlay document as required by the state for your approval. The capital outlay process has kind of two components. The first is the 5-year plan, and that's intended to be a kind of look ahead. How are things going at your institution? How is your capital plan holding up? What's new and upcoming at your institution? And so that 5-year plan should look very familiar to you. It's a rolling plan. So each year we start with the plan you approved in the previous year. So we make any updates. The updates are actually contributed to by many departments and folks from around campus. So section 1 this year has been updated with the new strategic plan framework that you approved in June. Thanks to Sheila Jones and LaKenya for updating that. Section 2 is all about academics and student services, so Provost Knettel and deans and academic leadership are all involved in updating that. Section 3 is data, so employee data, student data, enrollment trends, looking forward for the next 5 years. So Amanda Crizona from Institutional Research and Christine Kuhn from Human Resources and Julie Parks for all of the non-credit workforce programs tackle that. And then Section 4 and 5 are all about the physical plant. How are our buildings, an inventory of our buildings, what still needs work, what's our first priority. And that kind of first priority feeds into the second component of the capital outlay process. So each year we have to submit the 5-year plan, and we have the option to submit something for state cost share consideration. And as President Olivares just referenced, for us, our #1 priority last year and also this year is the Learning Resource Center. So the plan that we're requesting support for right now is for the state's fiscal year 24 cycle. But because we're still on the list, Lisa's going to give an update on where we are with that LRC funding request.
Thank you, and I would first like to thank Vicki. She mentioned everyone else that pulls all of the information together. She's the one that coordinates it all and actually generates the report and does a fabulous job doing that. You have, as part of this process, as Vicki mentioned, the actual request that we have into the state. Last year, you approved the Learning Resource Center. It is our intention to do that again. You will note, as you look at the form, we have increased the dollar amount. The construction costs, based on inflation, have significantly increased. So we have tried to temper that with looking at what we can do with planning, so as not to go too far above what we had already considered. That being said, we have brought to you a 5% increase in that total. So what you approved last year was 32 million. What we're looking at right now is 33.6. Remember, the state would contribute half of that, and the other half is ours as part of the general capital outlay process for community colleges. And as Vicki referenced, we are in an odd spot this year, as typically last year's, what we submitted last year would have been considered by the state already. They didn't do that as part of their normal budget process. They kind of moved that down the road, so to speak. And actually, the Joint Capital Outlay Committee, which is the House and Senate committee that looks at these on an annual basis, did so 2 Wednesdays ago, which is very late in the process and was a little bit of a surprise to all of us. So, thanks to all of our work, Vicki's work, Rusty's work, he helps tremendously with this. We are on their approved list. They did approve 18, I believe, community college projects when the State Joint Capital Outlay Committee approved that again in late February, I think 2 or 3 Wednesdays ago. And now it is sitting there. So last year's project has now been approved by that committee. It is highly unlikely that we will see any additional movement. So the Joint Capital Outlay Committee approves it. It will then go to the Senate because it's the Senate's turn this year, Appropriations Committee, and then on to the full Senate and House. It is likely that that will hold until after the November elections, and we will sit and wait. So some question as to if is it last year's request or the new request. At this point in time, we are going to submit the same project, obviously, increased dollar amount, and we will work through those changes with them.
Questions? This deserves our approval, which is what we're going to do in just a moment if there are no other questions. Thanks for the work on this, by the way. You're right, every year it comes, but every year we're excited to approve it. We thank you for all of that work. I will accept a motion to approve the capital outlay submission as presented.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there support for that?
Second.
There is support. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We've now reached the point in our meeting for our final public comment. This is the opportunity for anyone who wishes to address the board on any matter relative to the college. This is your opportunity to do that at this time. Seeing no one come forward, I'm going to ask trustees if there are any final comments that any of you have before we adjourn. Anyone?
I would just like to offer that I ran yesterday the Run Through the Rapids 5K, and I was thrilled at the finish line to see our men's cross-country team there volunteering. They were up very early before the sun came up. They were there volunteering, handing out blankets, handing out water, and that was a thrill.
So is the most important thing you just said that you ran or that you saw our cross-country team at the finish line?
Major
Yeah,
accomplishment.
yeah, we're impressed. We're impressed that you had the ability to see anything at the end of that finish line, so. Anyone else? Anyone else? All right, we're gonna see all of us back tomorrow. Looking forward to that. Hopefully, we'll see many of you tomorrow, and this meeting is now adjourned.
Right? Hey, Misty, I have a question. So you know how we're not supposed to spend a lot of time introducing ourselves tomorrow when we ask questions? Won't they just have this?